Hey lovelies, you're welcome back to Reviews and Recaps. Today I want to talk about Marquez's interview. So that's Trisha's husband's interview with Heavenly and Carlos King. Now, there are a lot of things that he talked about, but I do want to focus on some key bits that he talked about. I want to talk about the editing. I want to talk about the timeline. I also want to talk about the timeline of Trish and Ken's alleged relationship. I want to talk a little bit about what he said about Martel and Trish and how he feels like Ken and Trish are not going to last that long, okay? So we're going to talk about it. If you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap that bell button so you know every single time that I post if you want to see more content like this. Also, don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment in the comment section below. All these things help with the algorithm. So if you're trying to support, please support in that way. Now let's get into today's video. The first thing he said that gagged me was that Trish did not mention that she was trying to film for Love and Marriage Huntsville. Apparently, she told him that it was a dance pilot for his daughter and that he needed to sign a release form. Can you believe that? Imagine lying that it's a dance show and then sending him something to sign. That means you're really trusting that he ain't even going to read it. Luckily, he read the papers and then saw Love and Marriage Huntsville. How deceptive is that? I know we've talked about Trish being like a new Martel, and the lies just keep coming. And it's just interesting. Now, I will say, I don't think I believe everything Marquez said. He also comes across as a liar. It comes across as there is barely any truth to what he says. But I do feel like some things are very specific that it does not come across as a lie. And because Trisha's credibility is shattered, I feel like to an extent, there are certain things that I'm like, if he's telling the truth, that is crazy. Now, he did talk about the reason he came on the interview was because he is getting a bad edit. I wants to clear things up. Carlos was pissed. Do you hear me? He was pissed. He's like, let me just clear that up. We don't edit badly. And Trisha has been known to give bits and pieces of the story. Now, that is something I agree with. Not the editing part, but the parts that Trish gives bits and pieces of stories. She be lying, y'all. She will tell you A and not tell you B, C, D. She will tell you the first part of A and not tell you the other part of it. Like, that's how much her stories don't add up. She misses out crucial information. It's just very sneaky to me. Marquez did try to clean it up because Carlos gathered him so quickly. Carlos was not with the shenanigans. And then he said that he has come to try to clean it up so that next time there would be no room for interpretation. He will clarify things. I'm like, all right, sir, you better go on and clarify. So they start asking about timelines and stuff. He starts talking about timelines. I think one of the things that makes it hard to listen to Marquez is he starts off somewhere and then goes off on a tangent. And it's like, guys, can we bring it in? There's no reason for you to be talking too much because you just start to lose. Like, can you at least answer the question, then expatiate, right? But the thing with him is he may not answer the question, or he will start off answering the question, then move on to a tangent, then come back later. So sometimes he needs a little bit of direction. So he started talking about when they got married in 2006 and they pretty much grew up together. He then talks about like things were good at some point, and then the more you start to know someone, you start to see their trauma, where they're from, all that kind of stuff. He did also reference the kind of family that Trish was from and basically made it seem like she's not really from like a great background, that all of them are practically sneaky. They're from a military background, that kind of stuff. And then over on the other side, he has more of a loving, calm family. That's the impression I got. The other thing he said for the 17 years that he was married and in the same house with Trish, he never spent any time outside of the house. I know people are misunderstanding that point, but I feel like what he's trying to say is that he didn't leave her despite whatever it is they were going through. He was still in the same house, coming home every night kind of vibe. That's the impression I got. holistically from what he was saying. And I tell you that Carlos had to bring it back. Carlos was like, what year did you leave? Like, Carlos was not with it. He was just like, bring it all the way back. So he said he left in October 2020. He moved upstairs for 9 months. So he was still living in the same house with her in October 2020. And then from July 2021, he left and moved to an apartment that was about 5 minutes away. And then in October 2022, he moved to Atlanta because he wanted to be closer to basically his extended family, right? And it was also easy for him to commute and see his kids. So that's the impression I got in terms of all of the timeline. When they talked about Ken and Trish's relationship, he talked about he felt that they had been interacting for a while. So initially he felt like they were interacting in 2018 to 2019 when he was still married and living with Trish, and they were happy allegedly at the time. And he said that he saw like different emojis and DMs and conversations when Ken allegedly said he wants to perform oral on her while she was married. I'm like, that is crazy. If that is true, that is crazy. And that also shows the lack of integrity of Mr. Ken if he knew that she was married at the time. Because how would you be asking or saying to someone who is married that you want to give them oral? That is crazy. Like, that is so out of order. He did say he doesn't know if anything physically happened between them at the time, but that was when she was communicating with Ken. He even talks about that was when she fell in love with the gym, like around that time as well. And he would be saying he wanted to go to the gym, but Trish would be like, oh no, she likes his dad bod. He felt like she had already had eyes on Ken. Apparently, there was even conversations about Ken's body being like the ideal body she wants from a husband or something like that. I feel like the more I listen to Marquez, the more I feel like Marquez and Trish, the more I feel like gym became an outlet for Trish. She was going through a lot. Gym became an outlet for her. While she was at the gym, she found companionship that she did not find in Marquez. I feel like they also then grew apart because on both sides, they weren't really putting enough effort. It just feels like a situation of like, you've known each other for a long time. You start to take each other for granted. You guys develop different hobbies and start to like different things, find an outlet in different things. And then all of a sudden, you guys are so far apart and don't know how to come back together. I feel like that there is such an element of that. There was one thing he did say that I forgot to mention earlier, was that communicating with Trish felt like pulling teeth. And I was like, we can understand that, because even as viewers watching her, listening to her is like pulling teeth. We can't really get we can't even get open dialogue. It's like everything feels like we're forcing her to open her mouth and say something to us, when it's like, why are you on the show if you're not going to speak? I feel like if she wants to thrive on the show, then she needs to open her mouth and speak a little bit more, because it's not going to work otherwise. He discussed the whole bit about the Martel thing. He was like, he just feels like there were conversations with Martel whilst Melody and Martel were married, and that the day after he found out that she was talking to Martel, he saw Melody filing for divorce at the courthouse the next day. So it sounds like Trish was entangled. He didn't say that, but I feel like in some way there was some sort of entanglement between Trish and Martel, beyond what Trish is insinuating. He did say something and I thought was a good point. He's like, okay, they're both single. They're both going through a lot at the time. What else are you going over to do at his house? He's like, there ain't going to be no talking. And I'm like, interesting perspective. Especially because most times vulnerability breeds all sorts of things. Like, that's how you hear people do all these things where they do things out of character because they're in such a vulnerable state. And I feel like there is an element of that here. He did say something about Ken and Trish, and I thought was very interesting. Dr. Heavenly and I think Carlos were talking about, like, he's saying he's going to marry Trish and all of that. And he was like, he doesn't think it's going to last that long. And that he was listening to the interview, and that if Ken had to go, they've only been dating for 2 years, and he had to go away to cool off for some days, how is he going to last and get married to her? And I thought that's interesting. He's like, he's lasted years before he even left. If you can't handle 2 years with Trish, good luck. And I thought that is very interesting to say. And I do agree with that to an extent, because it's like, are they going to be able to last, and would it be a good marriage if there's already issues within 2 years of marriage that you have to go take some time off and it's a really serious issue? Unless like counseling and like active steps are taken to make sure this doesn't become an issue, I feel like there are serious things here that need to be resolved. So that is all I have to talk to you guys about today. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, hit that subscribe button, and tap that bell button right next to it so you know every single time that I post. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye.